Hello friends, this time you will not only be able to hear me, but actually see me as well. And I would like you to let me know in the comments if you prefer me making these videos with the video camera on or off in the future. Now in today's video we're going to look at instructive sequence of errors that were made in the opening stage in a relatively high level game 1700 on chess.com, and after each of those errors I will ask you to pause the video and you will get an opportunity to punish opponents for those same mistakes that they have made in the game. So this game started off with knight f3. Black played pawn to d5, and the last move that white played was pawn to c4. So all normal moves. And here black makes his first error by playing knight to f6. To a lot of people this may seem like a normal developing move, but unfortunately it's not good. And here I would like you to pause the video and think, how can white get an opening advantage from this position? So the problem for black here is that after c takes d5, black is not able to take back with the pawn. So this would give, if they were able to take back with the pawn, good grip on the central squares, like preventing white of playing pawn to e4, and this would be a good game for black. But unfortunately, after c takes d5 by white, black can only take back with the piece, and both captures are not good for black in different ways. So first of all, if queen takes, then white is winning a tempo. They're developing a minor piece and not allowing black to do the same because the queen has to run away from the attack. And here after a move like, for instance, queen to a5, which is one of the many moves, it simply allows white to play pawn to e4, and here white is leading the development, building up this big center, which we consider a big advantage for the white pieces. Now if we go back, I think most people in this position with black would take with the knight and see no problem with that, but white can play e4, and white starts building up this mobile center or just central control advantage in general easily. So here, if knight goes to b6, white can play d4, and this pawn center that we call mobile center, two or more pawns that have potential to move, gives white big space advantage. And because they control a lot of territory, not only black's pieces are finding it hard to develop to the middle, because white can push them and chase those black's pieces away from the center, but also they give security for the white's pieces to develop them around the middle squares and not being chased away by the black's pawns. So white is considered to have big advantage in the opening stage in this position. Knight b6 is of course not the only move that is possible. Black can also play knight f6, but then white plays knight to c3 followed by d4, and we have very similar story. White builds up the lead in development, and they also have central control and maybe space advantage as well. Unfortunately for white, unfortunately for black, white did not take on d5 and they played knight to c3. So this is an error made by 1700 on chess.com again, and here I would like you to pause the video and see how can black get an opening advantage from this position. Why knight c3 is not a good move. So now it's the other way around, that black can build up space advantage with pawn to d4, and I like these moves when white's pieces, which are attacked, the knight on c3 in this case, cannot maintain itself in the center. So if knight would be able to go to e4 and be safe there, maintain itself there, I maybe do not like d4, but here of course we see that we could just take the piece. And white's knight cannot go to d5 because we're attacking this twice and it's only guarded once. So what does that mean for white? This means that a piece which was in the center has to right now go to the side of the board, and white will be able to play a6, kick this knight away, play pawn to e5, which gives him big central control and space advantage, means a restriction of opponent's pieces, and black will have very easy life developing the minor pieces, knights and bishops, around and on the central squares because of black's pawns e5 and d4, giving them the so needed space and protection from opponent's pawns. Now if you don't believe me, white cannot do the same, look at this knight and tell me where is this knight going to be in the center. Kinda hard to pick a square because a lot of the squares are simply controlled by black's pieces. So here black has a big advantage. Now fortunately for white and unfortunately for black, d4 was not played in the game, and black played bishop to g4, which is a mistake. And you can pause the video again and see how can white punish the move bishop g4 this time. And it's a classical punishment, and maybe not even the only move. There is more than one move that may give white an advantage, but queen b3 is a must-know idea. So it's an attack on d5 and b7. You can call it a double attack because the pawn on d5 is attacked 3 times and only guarded twice. So this means that the pawn is hanging. And there is no way for black to escape the pawn loss or having positional commitments that have only negative aspects, but it's more has to do with the pawn loss in this case. So let's see what could black attempt to do to defend the position. If they try to defend b7 pawn, white takes d5 and white is a pawn up. If black takes on f3, white has this smart in-between move, attacking the rook, saving the rook with knight bd7, allows white to capture back on f3, and white is simply a pawn up. So not only we're a pawn up, I believe that white is doing even positionally very fine. Queen is not gonna get trapped. White has easy development. Light square bishop has been opened. There is a pressure on d5. We want to win that pawn right now, and the question is how can black defend that, if at all he can. And we consider this position probably close to winning or maybe winning practically. And after queen b3, the last option that may be tried by black is to take on c4, and now we simply take on b7. So knight bd7 to defend that. And after queen c6, white has a lot of ideas to develop the initiative. Knight to e5, knight to b5 followed by knight c7. c4 pawn is weak and likely gonna drop soon, and white is having again probably winning initiative and practically winning game. We could say that the position is winning when we're either a pawn up and have a better position in most cases, or engine is evaluating the position as 1.5 and more. Of course, it's open for discussion, and if you say I'm wrong, I might be wrong on this one. But I think that, yes, this position is very close or winning for the white color. Now, unfortunately for white, unfortunately for black, white played the move d4 here. And after e6, this position is somewhat better for white, especially if they find knight e5, but black is not lost and maybe they could still fight in this position. Now, if you follow this up with the correct strategies from white's point of view, I think that black is still in a little bit of trouble here, but both players had no idea that they went through hell actually to get to this position, and there were so many missed chances. So besides the instructive errors that were made, I think that the takeaway is also how focused we should be in the opening stages. It's not only about putting some pawns in the center, developing pieces to random squares around the middle, and castling and arriving at the middle game where it's time to think, develop the plans. No. We have to be precise and accurate in the opening and try to punish opponents for the errors that they may be making in the opening stage. Even if 1700 players are making such mistakes, can you imagine how openings are played at 12, 13, 1400 level players? Players that know all the opening principles, and nevertheless such mistakes are happening. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my chess channel. You can also consider hiring me as your personal online chess coach. My contacts are on the right, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you, my friends.